Good evening, everyone. My name is Paul Young. I'm just going to walk you through India and Canada trade and the issues facing business as you look at to expand into the Indian market. So, let's talk about the Indian economy. And a lot of it's been said over the last decade or so, with the focus being on China. Now, there's going to be a change in focus now more to the Indian economy, and it's growing at a whopping 7.4%, and likely will grow higher than that because there's a lot of stuff that's going on in terms of the modernization of the transportation system, the housing market. Basically, the whole flow of the Indian economy is starting to grow, and they've got good support because they've got a prime minister who's pro-economic growth, Modi, that's going to try to drive these reforms. This just gives you an overview of the Canadian comparison with Canada and the India, and basically where I want you to focus is the median age. In Canada's case, it's about 42 years old age. Well, in India it's 27. So India's population now, the youth are starting to enter the workforce. Now they're starting to develop a middle class. That middle class is going to have purchasing power, and that's really how you're going to measure an economy as it grows forward. And basically that's really what's going to drive it, is the urbanization and the youth in terms of spending. Let's talk about merchandise trade. Right now, it's not a lot. Considering the population of India is about 1.2 billion people, there's not a lot of trade there. And that's something that you're going to see as you move forward with different deals. You'll hear like FIPA, which is basically it's an investment protection agreement that comes into play to help support business. But you also see talks more and more about trade agreements to open up that market for Canadian business for exports, to kind of take advantage of the need for goods and services from Canada to enter the Indian marketplace. This kind of gives you an idea of the top, basically what we export. So look at what we're doing: food, fertilizer, ore, paper, minerals, wood and pulp, aircrafts. So other words, some of the machinery, some of the agricultural sector, forestry sectors, which are key drivers to the economy. Even the oil and gas sector would be key too, as more and more people drive vehicles in India, become affordable. That's going to be a key sector to grow. So this is areas that you need to kind of understand that Canada as a country needs to target the Indian marketplace. Now, what's in play right now? Well, up to August, they were looking at finalizing a trade agreement. Now, we've had a change in government, and basically the Liberal Party is taking over from the Conservatives, so I'm not sure exactly where that portfolio stands, especially with Indian trade. Christine Freeland is basically the new Minister of Trade, but I'll be cognizant and just hold your breath there for a minute. Whenever you deal with the Liberal parties, they've never had a pro-trade agenda, so it'll be interesting to see how they play this out, especially when we have deep Indo-Canadian roots here. Now, like anything else you deal with in multiple countries, you have to deal with barriers. And you have to deal with things like commercial and legal systems in different countries in terms of you incorporate and just how you operate in terms of shareholders protection. This kind of gives you an idea in terms of what's happening in terms of the different policies. As a company, you need to really synchronize yourself with a good lawyer that's familiar with the rules in particular countries like India. And that's just kind of gives you an idea. Corporate tax is another area you need to be very familiar with. You're also going to want to sit with an accounting firm to kind of understand taxations, because sometimes when you get in countries like India, their corporate tax and their excise taxes and consumption taxes are quite high. Their payroll taxes may not be as much, but you need to be familiar with all levels of taxation. Also, like any other country, they'll actually provide some tax incentives to exporters so that they're trying to give you some little help as you get your goods to be more competitive, price competitive, as you're trying to export them out. Now, technology is a big issue when you start dealing with countries like India, especially copyrights infringement, so you need to do your research in terms of what's happening on technology and the privacy rules in terms of things as well. Now, this is a good one to know. Like a lot of countries, when you're trying to take money from foreign subsidiaries to repatriate that cash through dividends or some sort of means, you need to be familiar what the rules are in terms of the receipts. So you're seeing here, You can see where they're going to put specific stipulations on how much money flows out. And there's a reason why that happens. Is a lot of countries want that hard U.S. currency or Canadian dollar currencies as it relates to the local currency. So they're going to put stipulations how that money leaves that country because they want that currency in their country. This gives you an idea about litigation in terms of the court systems. It's a common law country that's just like the British sector. It's also talking about privatization in terms of things. What you need to be familiar with is the legalities of how things operate there, and that's what this is kind of showing you here as well. Now, like anything else, you can create a wholly owned subsidiary company, but you need to understand the different things you have to do between an automatic route or special permission. Special permission means you have to get permission by the government, and that's where you got to wonder too as well. When you start talking with countries like India and China, you're talking a lot of government officials you have to walk through, and sometimes there's a lot of corruption, or I don't like to use corruptions, but there's some sort of way you have to buy into that, and that's something you need to be cognizant of when you deal with government officials. Joint ventures is just another option in terms of when you're working with foreign investors, and that just kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in terms of things. Now, like anything else, you have to do your research when you go into countries. This presentation is to kind of give you a quick overview to kind of look at the Indian market and kind of what you need to consider as you're going into it.